fight with you, but he's not going to do it. I said, so you get me today. So him and I went and we duked it out. What I got in trouble for is this fucking, that fucking sorry ass dude that got the dope. He was worried about what I was going to do. So I told him to go into the bathroom after I just scrapped this other dude. About 2 hours later, I told him to go into the bathroom, and I had four witnesses with me, and went into the bathroom. And as soon as he walked into the bathroom, he's going down the hall. And right when he turns around, he goes to say something. And I just fucking yapped him, whack. And it knocked his 2 front teeth out, and it knocked him out cold, and he crumpled up against the wall. And so I just turned around and walked out. It was quick. It was like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Nobody would. The only reason why they knew is because he went and told on me. But he comes back. I'm sitting down. I'm playing chess or poker. I don't remember which one I was playing. And he comes back and he's got his teeth in his hands and he goes, "Is that good enough for you?" And I was like, "No." And I turned around and I grabbed his teeth. I went over to the toilet and I flushed it down the toilet because I was afraid he was gonna give his teeth up, like, this guy so I snatched him and flushed him down the toilet. And then I had him go sit in the rack because we were gonna just smash him out the next day. I was just gonna send a few dudes in on that dude and just let him have that dude. Because I had 2 little youngsters that were just crazy little. They were fresh out. We call them bumblebees because they wear the yellow stripes. They're the minors. And it's like gladiator school. Those little dudes love fighting. So I had two kids that were just willing to just fucking just tear this dude apart. But I knew he wasn't going to stand there, so he dry snitched. We'll just get down to the point. He dry snitched in front of a sergeant. That was what started this whole thing, was because he's dry snitched to the sergeant before I took him in and knocked his 2 teeth out. We were all sitting there, and he was supposed to be on shine status. He was on bunk restriction, and he was trying to get up. And then finally he took off. Like when they were doing count, he came out and he was like, officer, I'm afraid, I'm afraid for my life, blah, blah. And so they had to take him out. And then after that, before you know it, I'm getting pulled out by these fucking cops.
Oh, God.
And they're taking pictures, and I'm just like, whatever.
So what'd you get, like an assault charge out of that?
I got aggravated assault because I knocked his teeth out.
Right.
I disfigured him. So lesson learned to anybody watching in Arizona, just slap them.
Yeah. So
don't close fisted.
That was a new charge on top of all your probation violations.
Yep.
And so how much time did they give you for that?
Well, there's a fucked up thing is they let me out of jail 2 days or 45 days later. I started doing my 45 days. They let me out of jail. I'm working, sober, working, staying out of trouble. I get a call from a detective and he's like, "Mr. Christopher." I'm like, yeah, who's this? He's like, I don't even remember his name. He's like, "This is Detective such and such. I'm with MCSO. I investigate our jail crimes."
Yeah.
And I'm like, so? Like, I forgot about the fight. I didn't think that's what I was in trouble for. He goes, broke it down. "You've gotten a fight with such and such, blah, blah, blah." He goes, "Don't worry. It's a misdemeanor. You're going to be fine." And I'm like, right. Get off the phone with him. I call my PO. Here's what happened. So she finds out what happens. And long and behold, it became a felony. It became a felony 4.
Wow.
So I relapsed after a while. I was going to court. I was doing good for about 3 or 4 months working. I relapsed. I got so bad. I was in the courtroom waiting to go to court, drawing the judge. Sitting in the courtroom, drawing the judge with a notepad. That's how fucking twacked out I was. Yeah. Like a fucking weirdo, just sitting here fucking, because I draw, I draw in paint and stuff like that. So yeah, I was just doing that. That's what I would do when I get all fucking spun out. Draw all the time, draw and paint. And
deal, or did you go to trial, or what happened?
Yeah, they ended up taking me in because I violated my probation. So he said, "You're gonna fight this case in jail." They they basically blackmailed me into taking my, or not strong armed me into taking my plea bargain for the aggravated assault, because I was taking it to trial. They had nothing on me. They only had his word against mine. Nobody was telling on me but him. It was none of that shit. It was just that. And they just basically told me in a settlement conference, either in a long sum it all up, he just said, hey, either you sign this plea bargain for aggravated assault, which is 2.5 years, or you can beat the case. He said, which I'm confident you will, but I'm still going to violate you on your 5-year presumptive probation, or give you your 5-year presumptive on your probation. So you can either do the 5 years, or you can just sign for the 2.5, and we'll just reinstate your probation. And I was like, man, I guess I'll do the 2.5.
Yeah.
And then it turned into 3 because I lost all my good time.
And so you went to Arizona State Prison.
Yep.
Now, do they have a reception center like California, or?
Yeah, it's called Alhambra.
You go to reception center. That go all right, or?
So guys were in there for like 27 days, 30 days. And there was like, the room I was in, there was only 15 bunks, 15 racks, but there was 26 of us, 27 of us in there. So people were sleeping on the floors and shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I'm going to be here fucking this whole fucking time doing, like, I got to stay in this stupid ass little room because they don't let you leave, only for chow and an hour of rec 3 times a week. It was like being in Max before I went to Max. And I got lucky and they pulled me out, me and a whole bunch of people out, because Alhambra was so full that they signed a contract with the local sheriff's office in Pinal County to house a whole bunch of VOC inmates there. So I got lucky, sort of, and ended up going over there. And at that time, we were next to all the guys who had that big riot in Kingman. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I didn't.
About 5 or 6 years ago, it was a huge riot. They'd like caused it was like $1.5 million in damage and shit. It was crazy.
So is there a prison in Kingman or what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we were next to those guys, but we didn't get TVs yet, because they didn't even have plugs in that county. So we didn't get TVs or radios. We just got store. We got prisons, like the regular DOC store.
All right.
While everybody else waiting in those little rooms over there, they didn't get that store because we were still in intake, but it was, I don't know, it was cool at first.
Yeah. I didn't last long in reception. I lasted like 2 weeks and I got a stab, went to home.
Oh shit, right off top, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So you go through reception and so where did they send you?
After I caught 2 charges in reception. I caught those 2 major A tickets that I think I was telling you about it earlier, actually.
All right, so what happened?
I had an issue. Me and the head wood had an issue because he wanted me to study AZRuction for 3 or 4 hours a day.
What the hell's that?
Where you like pray to Thor,
all
that stuff, that stuff. And I have nothing against it, but I just told him, I'm like, hey, bro, I'm 30-year-old man, dude. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, no disrespect to you, but I don't want to do that, Yeah. And he took that personal. And after that, that's when things with him went sideways real fast.
So would you smash him?
I ended up smashing him because he set me up, me and 2 other woods up. He didn't like us because all the other woods in there were young. They were like 21, 22. There was only a handful of us that were like over the age of 30. And the other 2 my celly and the other guy that I kicked it with, they had already been to prison before. My celly was doing 20 years. And he had already done, I think, 10 in Cali, and then he was a Cali wood. So when I asked him for advice, he would only give me so much, because he was like, I'm a wood, but I'm not from here. You know what I mean? I can't. I can't tell you really how to politic. He was like, no, I'll tell you how I would handle it if it was, if it was me.
Yeah.
That was the kind of advice I got instead of, yeah, you need to do that. But yeah, so he set me up in a way. And the only way to redeem myself was to I kind of rolled the dice and I just smashed the shit out of this dude to where he left in the ambulance. And then I just prayed. I basically just, prayed for the best. And I hope that when I got, because I hope that when I got to, wherever I was going, whatever yard, I didn't know I was going to go to max for this shit, for this. And then we had a 3-on-1. The 3-on-1 was another major A ticket. And I had both of those in 43 days, I think, of being in prison.
You guys 3-on-1 somebody?
Yeah. That's one of the things he set us up with.
All right.
He wasn't supposed to have that done yet until we hit an actual yard because there was just nothing but cameras around.
Yeah.
He was just trying to.
A gang member or something?
Nah, he was a rat. He had bad paperwork.
No. The guy that was like supposedly the shot caller there or whatever, was he like a gang member or?
Yeah, nah, he was just a wood that put in some work. It wasn't like he wasn't like a brother or anything like that. He just had an older DOC number, so it was a little bullshit pod. If we were on a regular yard with more people, he probably, there would have been somebody else that would have stepped up for it.
Himself to be a shot caller, and
Yeah, he kind of had some pull because he ran a AZRuction church, so he talked to some of the fellas inside, and I'm sure that he tried to be diplomatic and, politic a certain way. I'm sure that they just told him to let him run the pod, because this is some bullshit pod. He wasn't going to make money off of it. You know what I mean? There was somebody else in there that, he couldn't really get money sent anywhere. He couldn't try and do some funny shit because there were guys next door from Kingman looking through the glass all the time. We're always signing back and forth and talking and stuff, So he wasn't. It was either he had to sit there and run around, regulate on brownie, because we didn't have dope yet and shit. So either he's got to run around and spend his time regulating people on brownie hustles and shit like that for 25%, or he could just wait, and then so he wasn't trying to do all that. You know what I mean? He didn't want to do all that. So he was just, letting people kind of make their money. But once it hit the yard, it would have been different.
So that prison in Kingman, was that like a tough guy prison, or what kind of prison is that?
Yeah, it was. I believe it was like a level 3 and a level 4 yard.
All right.
I think they had a level 2 also. Arizona likes to put a lot of their. I don't know how they do it in Cali, but they like to put a lot of their. You'll have a 2, 3, 4, and maybe a max in one complex.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense for this, for the prison system, but. Yeah, we don't get a lot of that. We get like level 4s, level 3s, some level 3, level 2s.
Mm-hmm.
But usually it's all, one level,
Yeah.
Or maybe like some prisons have a couple level 4 yards with a couple level 3 yards.
Yeah.
Most of them are all just one level. So when you graduate down, your points go down, you go to another prison.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
How it works in California.
Right.
And like when I said this before, it's kind of funny, but when I got out of the SHU, I was in it was called Security Housing Decompression Unit, in a program pen, it's like a bunch of us been a hole and all shit, and I'm in a committee, and this little Mexican guy is a program administrator, which is equivalent to a captain. And back then you could smoke in prison. And he had this big fucking cigar. And he's a little kind of short, fat guy. And he's like, yeah, and he's got 164 points. And he got this fucking cigar. And I'm like, 20. I was like 22, 23. And I go, so what, what? So I went to prison. They didn't have a point system. They put you in prison based on your age. Like if you were young, you went to Tracy or whatever, and
right.
You got a little older, you went to San Quentin, or end of the line was Folsom, they call it the pit, and so anyways, like, yeah, you got 164 points, and it came out with a point system. I've been racking up write-ups and shit, and I said, so what? Is that good? What? He said, what are you, fucking smart ass? And I go, what? Like I'm thinking, a lot of points. That's good, right? And he's like, you good motherfucker, Yeah, he was mad as a motherfucker, but I didn't know.
Oh shit.
I didn't know what a point system was because they didn't have it when I went in. It's some new shit.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you smashed this dude then, right, Mr. Shotcaller?
Yeah.
So did that have any negative repercussions with the inmate population?
No, because nobody else knew like really what was going on except for my cellie, me, that dude's two little minions that he had. And I mean, everybody, they could tell something was about to go on, you know what I mean? Because it was just one of those negative vibes where it's just like you knew something was up, you know what I mean? I mean, I feel silly now, but I didn't know how to make shanks and shit yet. I know how to make bangers. Yeah. So, I'm sitting there and I got a piece of cardboard right here and one of them little tiny ass dumb pencils right here. So it didn't go through my hand in case I'm sleeping or something, I could just fucking start, get them. I didn't know how to make anything yet. I didn't learn all the good shit until later on, so I didn't know how to do none of that shit. So it wasn't something that, because I knew what was going on and I was like, that's fucked up, man. You know what I mean? And like, that was one of the things I was telling them when I was fucking them up and everybody standing around. I was like, tell everybody the truth. I kept yelling that shit at them. And I was, it was just because I'm a solid wood and, off top, I was already ready to, do what I need to do, put in work. I wasn't trying to get a bunch of crazy ink because I was a short timer. I know I wasn't trying to, do that. I wasn't trying to go stab anybody right away. I wasn't trying to do all that shit. Yeah. Smashing people. Yeah, we're good. But I was a short timer. So I wasn't necessarily, if they had asked me, hey, you mind handling this? I probably would have. But I wasn't going up to them like, I told them like, hey man, I'm ready to put hands on people. I like, I always tell them I like to fight. You know what I mean? I fucking like to draw and I like to gamble. Yeah. That's where we're at, like, and that's how I would introduce myself. I like to fight, that's what's up. And,
So you beat this guy's ass, huh?
I fucking beat this dude's, the brakes off this dude. It was bad. It took 9 mops. Like he's
a fucking bully anyways. And,
that's what ended up happening.
They're running shit. They're usually end up being lames in the end.
Yep. Yep. That's so exactly what happened.
For that, right?
No, actually, I didn't, because he didn't press charges. In Arizona, they don't pick up too much stuff. If they're gonna pick up dope charges, fights, they don't really fuck with fights too much. It's you stabbing somebody, you're done. You know what I mean? If they get you, dope,
you go for that?
Yeah, that was where that's what the hole was for me, was SMU 2 Browning unit, which is that's the first level of the Supermax till it works down to the max. And there's a difference. I've had other people that haven't been to Florence and they're like, well, it's not a Supermax. No, it is, because the Walls is the most famous. It's the most famous maximum prison that we have in Arizona for us.
Yeah, I've heard of Florence. So you're telling me they have different facilities at Florence. They sent you to Florence, basically.
Yes. Yep.
The unit called Browning unit or something?
Yep.
All right. So basically Florence is an old prison, kind of like San Quentin and Folsom. What is it, 4 or 5 tiers high?
No. 2.
No, I mean the old part of it.
I never made it to the old part.
So the old part, I know, is like San Quentin 4 or 5 tiers high. And then they have brand new prisons attached to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. That's where you went, to one of the newer prisons.
Right.
Cell blocks or whatever.
My points were, yep. and because my points were too high to go to the walls, which is where everybody wants to go. If you're, you know what I mean, if you want to sit on your hands, then yeah, you know, you go to the 2 yard, you do your thing. But if you're in a max facility or something in Arizona, the walls is where you're trying to get, because you're not, you get more freedom. And over there, the hustles can finally start to, you know what I mean? Because people are out. So people are moving and grooving, and, you know, and in the max, there's no movement. When they would pull us out, the Browning unit, when they would pull us out, we had to have 2 guards escort us, and we got to be, you know how it is. They belly chains, leg chains,
you up, all that shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember getting in all that, and I felt like a badass. So the first time I fucking stepped off the little thing with all my chains, I was like, man.
Yeah. Look at me, ma.
Yeah, that's how you kind of feel at first, and you're like, damn, this sucks.
Did you do all your time there, or?
Yeah.
All right, so you get to this Supermax. You weren't like in the hole, but it's just a high security prison.
Right.
GP. So when you got there, did anybody say anything about you smashing this guy? Any inmates?
So luckily, I didn't want any issues. I didn't know who my new cellie was. He'd been down for a long time. Well, you know, quite a long time, 18 years straight. And so that was how I learned the convict was, you know, the old school way. But I let him know straight up after we, you know, the paperwork checks and all that good stuff, you know, I let him know. It only been a couple of days. I didn't wait too long. I was just like, hey, bro, look, this is what, you know, happened. This is my side of the story. My cellie and the other guy, they ended up going to Max on the same bus with me that day because they got in trouble for the 3-on-1. Yeah. So I got in trouble for the 3-on-1 and this smashing. They got in trouble for the 3-on-1 and got sent to Max still. So we all went the same day. So luckily I had witnesses, you know, that were there. And, you know, that's the only reason why I didn't have any repercussions, because hey, I sideswiped that dude. That dude was like 6'7", 300, like I think it was like 320 pounds. Nah, that dude got Superman punched with his legs crossed while he was eating his fucking Cheetos, watching his little fucking Dr. Phil.
Well,
he was too big.
Man, I've seen some guys that were big guys, man, and just big don't mean tough. And, you know, I've seen little guys kill big guys with a big knife. So,
right.
You know, little Mighty Mouse, tiny guys, stab guys my size one time in the back and right in the neck, and they die. So, I mean, you know, size doesn't really mean a whole lot when it comes to, you know, violence. But,
right.
A lot of big guys, they don't know how to fight, and a lot of them are cowards. So, I mean, they use it to bluff. And, you know, I'm 6'4", 300 pounds. Yeah,
you're a big boy.
But, you know, I mean, I know how to fight a little bit, but I bluff a lot too. You know, I bluff my way through a lot of shit, and, you know, guys don't want to find out. And quite frankly, I'm glad they didn't want to find out, because then I would have had to stab them, you know?
Yeah, I get you.
You know, you know, I reached the point in California prison where I didn't want to fight anymore. When I was younger, I started lifting weights, strong, and at one time I had a 500-pound bench because I figured if I had a problem with someone, I'll punch them in the face and crush their face, you know. You know, game over. But as I got older, I said, you know, fuck it, man. People got stupider and stupider, and I got less and less patience. And you know, like one time I told this youngster, hey, you don't want to make me paranoid. And he's like, what do you mean? And it took him a minute to get it, but then he's like, yeah, all right, you know. You know, I just got to where I would just stab him, you know. So bluffing's kind of a part of the deal, and being willing to go there is another part of it, you know.
Right.
So you didn't really have any trouble over that when you got to prison?
No, I actually later on, after I told my celly, he laughed. Like he wasn't a probate or anything like that. He put in a lot of work over the years. He was one of the solid woods. He just uh put it, he knew the family quite well. Um, he was in the mix, but he was, if he's on a yard, more than likely they're gonna get, if there's not a probate on the yard or something, they're gonna give him the keys to the yard more than likely.
You mean like for a prison gang?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So were there prison gang guys here where you're at in the Supermax?
Yeah, they were. That's how I ended up actually. I ended up being there. I was with all the big dogs. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I ended up knowing 4 fellas on a first name basis. 3 probates on a first name basis. That stuff they all, not all of them. One of the probates heard the story about that dude. And I legit thought, I was like, damn, because I knew I fucked up in my way of by fucking sliding him like I did, So I was like, shit, man, I might have to they might have to, give me a hot one real quick. That sucks, And he laughed. He laughed about it. He goes, man, that dude's a fucking asshole. He goes, I know who that fucking guy is, He's like, hey, Wood, don't worry about it. He was like, "You been losing sleep over this?" I was like, "Yeah, I kind of have." He was like, "Cause my celly, he was a big dude. You know what I mean? He was big old Wood. That's all he did. He worked out. You know what I mean? That was his thing. He would read, eat, and shit, fucking working out all the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I gotta do this type of shit again. That's what I was thinking. Like, I hope not. But he was like, nah, man, go to sleep, Wood. You're good, man. That dude's a fucking asshole.
Hey, so like in that max prison, do they like do these guys that think they're running the yard and all that shit? Do they like push a hard line, or what kind of policies but do they like tell other white dudes what to do, or what the program is, or how's that work out there? I don't want, just
yeah, no, you're good.
Whatever you're willing to divulge without getting yourself, saying the wrong shit,
I know, man. That's the hardest part about having one of these channels. I've noticed is trying to sidestep certain things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So usually, like the head of the yard will just be, he's just gonna be the guy that just, is collecting money for the fellas. Pretty much, they're gonna give him his little cut, and then he's got to make sure that the rest of the shit that was supposed to be collected from whatever dope, you know how it goes, whatever needs to be collected needs to get sent to the right person.
Like, what about white dudes that don't fuck with dope? They're just doing their fucking time. Do they get infringed on? Or, I mean, because out here, like, the guy's minding his own business and he's not involved with a drug game, usually he gets left the fuck alone, The only time he's really needs to be, with it is if there's some kind of racial shit on the yard. He needs to be out there and he needs to be with it.
Right.
Other than that, I mean, if he's not in the mix, then people usually don't mess with him, guys like that.
Yeah.
You like that out there?
Yeah. You can, like you said, as long as you're not over here wolfing all the time or trying to do anything, you just literally just keeping to yourself. But when it comes time, you know what I mean? If a riot pops off, they gotta be ready. But if some dude comes on the yard and he's like, no, I'm not doing anything, I just want to do my time and go home, not on a 2 yard, but on some other yard, they're gonna fuck that dude up. And if he's on a higher yard, I've heard of dudes getting stabbed over simple shit like that, just being like, dude, I just want to do my time. Well, if there's a riot, you're gonna fucking pop off with us. Yeah. No, I'm not. Okay, well, now you're fucked. Yeah, I've heard of that happening.
Yeah, I mean, when there's riots or, there's tension, there's racial problems, I mean, you got to be there and you got to do what you got to do, I mean, no matter what I had a celly one time in Lancaster. We had a thing with with the blacks over, it was actually over a white crib. And so we all go out the yard. My celly was a little guy and he was a Christian dude. And he goes, He goes, I'm a Christian, but I got to go out to the yard. I said, yeah, you should go out there. And he went out there. He told this guy Rick. He said, what should I do? And Rick told me, just stand right next to me. Fortunately, it got resolved with the one-on-one, but the guy was there.
He was there.
He probably would have got his ass beat down pretty bad if, but he was there.
Hell yeah, he showed up to the game.
Yeah, and that's all it takes, man.
Yeah, straight up.
So, I imagine Arizona's just like every other state where, there's illegal activity and, so.
Oh yeah.
Those guys try to tax, like say some white guy's got some game and he's making cash. Do those guys try to tax him?
If he's walking the main line and he's got some kind of hustle like that, he's gonna give up 25% regardless.
Oh, really?
To the white boys, yeah. Not to us, but
So what
to
if
the fella?
What if he says, "Hey, fuck you, I'm not giving you shit"?
They're gonna stab that dude until he's fucking just done. And even after he's dead, they're probably depending on which brother is in charge of that, who has that yard. I can't speak for any of them, but I'm sure some of them, it's human nature for one of them to be a little bit more upset and take something personal than maybe the other guy will. So who knows? You might be dead and they still might be just stabbing you to death just to prove a fucking point.
Yeah.
They're not going to play with that shit. When it comes to the money and, shit like that, they're not playing with that. Those guys are trying to put their kids through college and shit with that money. They're not fucking around with that shit. Yeah.
Wow. And so is there a lot of corruption? Is there corruption out there in Arizona?
With like the cops?
Yeah.
There is, of course, they just like, just like any other prison. I say any other prison because, there is a certain level of corruption. The reason why I say that is because, is it like Florida? No. Florida is fucking buck wild. They are crazy. You're more worried about the cops than the dude you're going to prison with. It's not even close to that. But yeah, there's, you get you a white shirt, she's gonna bring you in some stuff, you know what I mean, or a cop's gonna bring you in.
Well, like in California, when I went to prison guards made $18,000 a year, and now their base pay is $70,000 a year, so it's a little harder to corrupt a guard. Whereas back in the 80s, if you dropped $100 bill on a cop, he'd probably bring us, bottle of whiskey or, sack of weed or whatever,
Right.
I know you could buy, tumblers of whiskey or vodka on the yard for a certain price. You could go to the hospital and have sex with a nurse, for $50. I mean, it was loose, man.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore, obviously.
Right.
Their union's very strong. They make a lot of money and, it's just a whole different game now.
Yeah.
And, inmates are a lot different now. I remember when you could kill somebody in front of 20 guys and no one would tell on you. And now, you can't sell a fucking cigarette without getting told on.
Yep.
So is there a lot of ratting going on in Arizona prisons?
Yeah. So even politically, we have the Stepdown yard and the Renounce yard. So the Stepdown yard that's an okay yard. That's the yard where that's when a fella or a brother said, when he says, I'm good with the gang life, but I'm not telling you guys shit. Well, then he's still considered, he still has all his stuff, he's not supposed to be giving orders. Then you have the Renounce yard. That's the bad yard. If you hear somebody say from Arizona they've been to the Renounce yard, that means that they have become a rat, and they're giving up the gang life completely but they're also going to give a certain amount of information to DOC and the feds.
So they're dropouts.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you're telling me that these guys can step down, like they can be in a prison gang and say, hey, I'm done, and just step down and it's all good?
They don't give orders.
So they can still be on the yard with active gang members, and it's all good, but they're not part of the gang anymore.
Well, that's the difference between renounce and step down. Step down, they're still part of the, they're just not giving up. They're saying that they're not going to make any shot calls anymore.
Yeah.
That they're not going to, and but they're not giving up any information. They're saying like, I'm not gonna give out orders anymore, but I'm not telling you shit either. The other one, the renounce yard,
yeah,
that's the bad one. That's the one where you're like, I'm done. You go to a PC yard. Those guys go to.
That's kind of crazy because in California, from what I understand, there's no leaving. You either rat, drop out, or you go out in a body bag.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird little thing.
Yeah. Wow.
But cool. Yeah, people are ratting all the time.
So, yeah, I mean, from my experience, the harder the line that you push, the more guys you get who want to leave sideways,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That the fear of, bottom line, the fear of death's a motherfucker for some people, So, I mean,
right.
They're willing to do just about anything to protect their life, including rat on all their former friends.
Yep.
Like, Mr. Mike Thompson, very famous rat in California.
Yeah.
On National Geographic. And not only is he a rat, he's a he's a professional witness who's fabricated stories against his former friends and people that really weren't his friends. So, but he did that out of fear, I'm sure, of saving his own life. Wow. So, like in that max prison, do they have like vocational programs? Do they have NA or AA or any of that kind of stuff? Chapel programs? No.
Nope. Only on TV.
Wow.
You had to do everything on your TV. They tried to send us to what was it called? It was like an anger management class. Right. They tried that one time while I was in there.
Yeah.
And it worked out. I mean, don't get me wrong, it worked. I think it was a setup for the cops to find out who's passing shit, because they knew that we weren't, there was no racial tension going on, so nothing was going to pop off. But they canceled it. We went one time, I think maybe twice, and they canceled it. But you know how it is. None of us have been out at this point. None of us have been out of our cells unless you're going to medical, for almost 2 years, year and a half. Wow. So they let some of us go to this thing. All of a sudden, I'm getting fucking people fishing over to me left and right, different woods. Hey, will you take this kite? Hey, I got 8 kites. Hey, I got another 7 kites. I'm like, hey, fellas, I can't take 20 fucking kites with me, man. What the fuck is going on with it? Yeah. And then I think that's what they were doing, to see who's going to be trying to. Yeah. Some of us are going to be slick. Some of us aren't, you know what I mean? And they're going to see the ones that aren't slick who they're passing shit to, and they're going to go off that.
There's no vocational, nothing.
It's all on TV. If you want to do it, you have to pay for it, and you have to do it on TV.
Wow, you got to pay for your own education.
Yep.
And Max. Vocational training, you can't do vocational training over the phone or TV.
Yeah, it's weird. Like one of my cellies got a certification, a mechanic certification over the TV.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah, he watched pictures, and he had to read about it, and then he had to answer the questions. It was
I mean, that's like watching YouTube to learn how to bake a cake. I mean, you know,
right.
Wow.
Yep.
So basically, you just did a lot of cell time, a lot of, you know, yard exercise time, and a lot of cell time.
Mostly cell, because we were on 23-hour lockdown, so we would get showers. It would rotate every other week. It would change. One week we would get 2 days where we would shower, the one tier. Then the next tier we get to shower, and then the next week, the bottom tier we get 3 shower days. But nobody would go to the showers. I mean, we did very rarely. I'd rather bird bath, because the cops are assholes, so they'll just leave us in the showers for 2 or 3 fucking hours. Who wants in a little tiny ass shower where everybody's been dropping their kids off all day? You know what I mean? Sit in the shower, you know?
Yeah.
So we didn't go to the shower I bird bathed every day. But the rec cage was small. It was 50 feet high, and you can't see anything. So I didn't care to go out there. I only went out there probably like out of 3 years. I probably went out there like 40 times. And out of those 40, 10 of them were mandatory. So that was because it was just, there was nothing to see. And then my celly would be like, oh, what about the fresh air? What fresh air? It's a 50-foot high wall, and you're in a tiny little box. What fresh air are we getting? You ain't getting nothing in there, man. I'd rather just, and then they'll leave you out there too. So then you just get stuck out there. There's nothing to do out there. There's a little tiny, sometimes if some asshole didn't decide to steal it, there'd be a little fucking racquetball.
Yeah.
But most of the time somebody stole that shit. So it was never even there anyway.
You don't walk alone cages?
I got those when I went, I finally went down to another yard, and that was SMU1, and it was still max. Instead of 23-hour lockdown, it was like, I want to say 22, 20-hour lockdown. We didn't get out much, but I actually got my first job in prison 4 months before I got out, making 10 cents an hour.
10 cents an hour. Wow.
To sweep the fucking, they would just have me sweep him up, right?
Baller.
Fuck, I couldn't even buy a fucking bag of coffee because these assholes would only let me work for an hour and a half.
Or something.
What's that?
That tier tender job.
Yeah. But hey, that turned out to be the best hustle anyways. Because I would fucking get all kinds of shit from people for fucking taking shit over here, over there. You know, I was just moving and grooving. I had a fucking little routine, sweeping, fucking passing shit over here, passing shit there. It was cool. It was better over there.
How much time did you do all together?
I did 3 years. I was sentenced to 2.5.
Yeah. But
I did 115% of my time. So Arizona, I don't know if you guys do that, but if they call it your 115%, because if you do your 100%, the other 15% comes from doing your parole time. So I ended up having to do my parole time. I did all my good time.
You didn't have no parole?
But I had probation. I was actually on gang task force probation for 3 months when I got out.
Wow.
Because they said I was associated, And I remember I was telling my mom, and she was like, so what, you were like, what were you? You were talking to all of them? I was like, well, yeah, what am I going to do? Hey, one of the brothers or fellas called down. I'm going to sit there and be like, hey, man, I don't want to get in trouble, man. I'd appreciate it if you didn't call down here anymore, like, hell no. Yes, I was talking to that man. Anytime that dude called down, I'm like, hey, what's up, man? What you need, dude? Yeah. What were you doing down there? Were you sleeping? Nope. What do you need?
Yeah,
so that's why they hate me with that.
Like one up, one down. I've heard at all times one guy could be sleeping, the other guy has to be awake, even at night. I don't know if they do shit like that out there.
No.
Roll call. Like last time I was in the hole, it's like you're supposed to get up in the morning, they have roll call, good morning, all that shit, and then you're not supposed to sleep. I fucking eat breakfast, I'm back to sleep. Fuck you, fuck off, really. Yeah, you know, I burpee routines, all that bullshit. I'm like, man, fuck that, you know. So you guys have mandatory workouts and shit?
Yeah, if you were 35 years or older, it wasn't mandatory, but anything under 35, you had to work. It was mandatory to work out at least 3 times a week
All right. So
and
you
at least one
paroled.
cluster workout.
You paroled.
I didn't. I actually, I just got out on probation
Yeah, I
because
mean,
I did.
you know, you were released.
Oh yeah, yep.
And so you spent 3 years in prison, well, county jail, prison,
It was
and
about 5 total.
you didn't get a fucking trade. You didn't get any therapy, no counseling, no NA,
Nope.
no AA, just cell time and workout time.
Yep, that's all I did was I worked out, I would read, and I would draw and paint all day. That's all I would do.
So Arizona got a lot for their money.
Oh yeah.
You know, I always say that the taxpayers are paying for a product, and the product is the person who walks out of prison every day. And the taxpayers are getting a defaultive product. You
Yeah.
know, bottom line, a
Straight up.
defective product.
Yep.
You know,
Because they're not getting no help. You're not getting help.
I mean, California, there's some programs, not a lot, but there are programs here. You know, other states they don't have the finances California has. You know, we're pretty big. We got heavy tax burden on working class people in California, so
Right.
California's budget's pretty big. Other
Yeah.
states don't have that budget, you know. So when you got out, you stayed. Did you go to your mom's or what did you do?
Nah, my whole family didn't talk to me the entire time I was in there. So I was in there broke. I had 2 TVs my entire time. And those 2 TVs got confiscated because they weren't my TVs. They had the wrong number on the back.
Right.
I only had those for 3 months out of 3 years. Other than that, I didn't have a TV. I didn't have nothing. My mom didn't talk to me. My brothers didn't talk to me.
Yeah.
Only my daughter. I only talked to my little baby. I talked to her once a week because we only got one phone call a week for 15 minutes. I talked to her once a week, and I didn't even get to talk to her every week because some weeks it just fell on a wrong time where she just wasn't. Her mom was at work, and so I ended up going to another halfway house. I've been to so many before.
Like transitional housing.
Yeah.
All right. And how long was your probation?
My probation it was supposed to be a 3-year tail, but I didn't know this, but I was finishing up. I had 6 months of gang task force probation, which is like intense probation pretty much.
Right.
But I was staying out of trouble. I literally, when I got out, I was working I was working 2 jobs. I was working almost 80 hours a week, just work. And then I was spending another 6 to 7 hours taking the bus 7 days a week, 6 days a week. And so I wasn't fucking up and doing dumb shit. And so the guy that I had, he was cool. He let me off gang task force early. He let me off 3 months early. But then that started my regular probation. So now I had regular probation, and I did so good. I didn't have not one for the first time ever being on probation. This is the 7 year. I've been on this probation that I had for 7 years.
Yeah.
And it was my first time never being in trouble. I never dropped one dirty UA, nothing. So the only thing I wasn't doing was paying my fines. And my probation officer called me in one day, and I started freaking out because she brought me into the room in Arizona, the room you don't want to go into for probation. If all the furniture is bolted down, you're fucked. You're not going home today.
Yeah.
And she brought me in that room, and I'm like, holy shit, like what's going on? Like I haven't done anything. I literally don't do shit. I don't even fucking jaywalk. You know what I mean? Like I don't do shit. And she goes, no, you're good. It's just that all the rooms were full. And I was like, oh man, well, she had the supervisor come in, and he goes, well, Mr. Christopher, we're gonna let you off probation a year and a half early. I only ended up having to be on probation. It was supposed to be 3 years. year and a half of good behavior. They let me off early. He goes, the only thing that we have a problem with is that you don't like to pay us. And I was like, well, I pay you. It's just not as much as you want, you know? And he goes, well, unfortunately, we can't keep you on probation for not paying your fines. He's like, so we're still kicking you off probation. We're kicking you off probation.
Yeah.
And I mean, it felt good because I'd been doing that probation for 7 years.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get it right.
And so, like you're clean and sober, you go to any programs or what, what just made you decide to just straighten up and get off the dope and live right?
To be honest,
doing right.
yeah. I don't do none. I don't do any of that. Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't even hang out with people that do drugs. I don't even fuck with anything like that because that was always my downfall is hanging out with friends that still did dope and dumb shit. That was always my but yeah, that's all I do. I have my lady that I met my lady a month after I got out of prison and moved in with her in a month, straight off, out the gate, met her and we've been together ever since. And that was in 2018.
Yeah.
And so now I just work and I just come home and now I do this YouTube thing. Other than that,
Go to NA or anything like that?
Yeah, I go to NA and I mostly go to the AA. I'm not an alcoholic, but I prefer mostly in AA. It's a lot of the older guys and a lot of the older folks, and I prefer them over. I don't know. I like Alcoholics Anonymous meetings more than I like NA
I
meetings.
know a lot of guys out here that are they were dope fiends, but they prefer going to AA meetings.
Yep, I just prefer it. I like the company better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been around. I was selling dope to all these motherfuckers. I don't want to be around them more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I need a break.
So, so you go to meetings and did you get any? Have you been to any like, therapy, counseling, any types of group sessions, anything?
The main thing that I'm gonna start working on, I haven't figured it out yet or gone and done it yet, but is my anger issue. I feel like that's always been I went to prison for aggravated assault. I've been getting in fights my whole life. You know what I mean? I grew up on military base, but I also grew up I also grew up listening to like hip hop and stuff like that. So, I listened to that stuff when it was like now it's cool for white boys to listen to rap.
Yeah.
And do all that shit. It wasn't cool when I was doing it. When I was listening to rap.
Yeah.
It wasn't cool. I got in fights for that shit.
Yeah.
So I kind of grew up fighting all the time, not just for that, but just for all kinds of shit. I just had a bad temper. That's what I'm working on, is getting help for my temper. That's the main thing. I feel like that'll move things.
Cool. So, before we close out, I just got to say, like, you got any message you want to give youngsters out there that might think they want to get in the mix?
It's definitely not worth it. You know what I mean? You lose a lot more when somebody tells you, hey, if you get a felony, you're not going to be able to get a job. Well, I didn't really believe that because I'm a people person. So I was like, I don't care. I can still get a job no matter what. People love me the way blah. It's not true. I got denied for 43 apartments, 43 straight apartments.
Yeah.
Because of a felony. Try and get an apartment with a felony. Damn near most places don't even want people there. And if you think, the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my entire life is the same as everybody else. That's being a human being. Yeah. Being a human being is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life.
Yeah, and like in my case, I did 38 years and I went to a job interview one time and I fudged my interview, my paper, and the guy goes, you have a pretty significant gap in your work history, even though I fudged some of it, and So, you know, getting a job, a lot of guys will hire ex-felons, but when you have years and years and years as an adult with no work history, you know, it's kind of hard to get a job.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all want things in life, and it takes money to have things. And
Yep.
if you can't work or you don't have a hustle, you know, good luck, you
Yep.
know. So, you know, prison, to me, you know, crime, it has a long, lasting tail that follows you for a long time afterwards, you know.
Definitely.
Even when you clean up and get right, it takes a long time to shake that.
Yep. And one of the fucked up things too is I used to hate waking up. I would have these vivid dreams that I was free. And then I was like, cool, I'm out of prison. Now I can stop having these fucking weirdo ass dreams because it sucks seeing all this shit and feeling like, and then you wake up and you're in this little box. Then I got out of prison and started having dreams and I was in prison. I was like, Jesus Christ, I can't fucking get away from that shit.
Yeah.
You dream about, you know how it is. You dream about that shit, you know. I used to hear airplanes. Kids, if you don't want to go to prison, you don't want to know what it's like to fucking hear an airplane fly over and every time wish you were on it. Didn't matter where it was fucking going.
Yeah.
Shit, you could have took me to anywhere in the world damn near and I'd have been ready to get on that flight.
Yeah. I mean, prison, you know, yeah. So you live in Colorado now?
Yes, moved out here to Colorado.
All right. All right. How you like that?
I love it out here.
Right.
So it's a lot nicer. The people are a lot nicer.
Yeah.
Not when it comes to driving, but they're horrible drivers out here.
Driving's rough just about everywhere you go nowadays.
Right?
Yeah. Arizona wasn't too bad. I rode, you know, I went on a 3,000-mile motorcycle ride, and
Oh shit.
Arizona was super nice. Really
Man.
nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Arizona's beautiful weather to ride a bike in. That's for sure.
It really is, and the traffic's non-existent compared to California.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. We compare it. We complained about traffic all the time. My buddy was from LA. He was like, dude,
Yeah.
I work a mile away from my house and have to leave 3.5 hours early just to get there on time.
Wow. Hey, so when you were in Arizona prison, I got to ask you before we go, were there a lot of guys from California in Arizona prisons?
Yeah, there was quite a few of them in there. Yeah.
And so was there like how they get along with the guys from Arizona?
They did all right. They did all right. I know that there was a prior incident with California and Arizona. I didn't mention it. Is just because I didn't know I didn't know if it was going to stir up trouble and stuff, you know, but.
Well, it ain't going to stir up trouble with me, you know.
Well, I guess a while back they tried to make California wanted Arizona to fall in line with how they politic 100%. And if I had to guess, and it could be an ignorant guess, I would say Arizona follows Cali about 80%, and then the other 20 is how Arizona wants to politic.
Yeah.
And I heard about this incident. This is before my prison time, way before.
Yeah.
But they had sent a few Cali boys out to Arizona. They got them transferred from California to Arizona to have them to make us fall in line, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think it was in like 2 weeks. They said that they all ended up in body bags and got sent back. And ever since then, Arizona just kind of ran solo. I think we're I don't know if we're the only or if we're like one of 3 states that program under our own. Still have the.
I don't know if California has that far-reaching effect as people think.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah,
it's one of those legend things people
hear.
I know.
Because when I was in the pen, there was a guy from Arizona saying he was, you know, hooked up in some prison gang in Arizona, and some guys out here were like, oh yeah, cool, you know, pat them on the back, hey, it's all good, and you know, hey, we're gonna do this drug deal, make a lot of money. They got like $9,000 from them, and then they stabbed the shit out of them, ran them off. You know,
Yeah.
so, I mean,
We
that's the kind
there
of
wasn't
that goes on in prison. You know.
Yeah, it's crazy. They weren't it was never like a tension thing. You know what I mean? If a white boy from Cali came on the yard, it wasn't like, oh, it was just you wouldn't know that he was from Cali unless he really told you. You know what I mean? Or had some tattoos. I knew some dudes who had like state of California tatted, he had California state of California tattooed right here.
Yeah.
But there was never like a rate like a tension thing. That incident that happened, I think that shit happened in the 90s or something. That wasn't anything that happened even close to when I was in there. But
Yeah.
uh but yeah, so Cali boys do good. My celly was from Cali at first. My first celly was actually from Cali.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, well, thanks for coming on, John. We appreciate your stories, man. And
Hey, I appreciate it.
you know, I'm glad to have you on the channel. I'm glad you're out doing well and living
Definitely.
life, brother.
Hey, likewise, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh
You and
yeah.
your wife are amazing. It's
Thank
awesome,
you.
man. Appreciate it.
We do what we do, you know.
Keep doing it.
Yeah, you know what I say, man. Whatever you're gonna do it hard.
Yes, sir.